she joins us. Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order today at 10 o'clock. Beth, if you can do roll call, please.
And I'm just confirming Rebecca started the recording. Thank you. Austin? Anthony, are you here? Sorry.
I see him.
I'm going to say yes. Paul?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Leffler?
Yes.
McNulty?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Smith. Also present, Rebecca Malinowski and Beth Stonebrenner, CCS.
Do we have any additions to the agenda? Okay, none. Audience to visitors. I don't believe we have any visitors. All right, so then let's get to the consent agenda that has the minutes from August 12th, financial statements for August, and approval of bills for payment in August.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I think Diane got in there first.
Yeah, sorry.
First by
That's
Kate,
okay.
by Diane.
Okay.
And if we can get a roll call.
Yes. Austin?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Leffler?
Yes.
McNulty?
Yes.
Sorry.
If you said me, I didn't hear you, but
Sorry.
here's Heidi. Heidi is here.
Okay, 10:02.
So yes, at 10:02, Heidi joins.
Heidi, do you want me to include you on the roll call for the consent agenda?
Yes, please. And I apologize for being late.
That's okay. We weren't sure if you were coming.
Oh, I'm coming, but unfortunately I do need to leave by 10:45 to pick up the kids from school.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll meet quickly, hopefully.
Thank you.
We're on to business with new members. Do you want to give us an update on that go live, Rebecca?
We're live. Data load finished ahead of the revised schedule, right on schedule for the original schedule yesterday morning. So CCS libraries, as you all know, existing libraries came up yesterday. And then in the afternoon, we started working with Palatine and Grayslake on their receipt printing, et cetera. So they are getting ready to circulate this morning. So far, so good. We'll see how their day goes. I have a summary in your packet about the training that we did. I'm really excited. I haven't gotten it yet this morning, but to get an update on the patron merge process. If you remember from previous go lives, CCS staff, several of us spent several days manually merging patrons that were registered in both systems, and Bob's Polaris knowledge and access have developed enough that he was able to develop a process that can do all the work of 4 people over 4 days in 7 minutes. So I'm looking forward to that. We did some testing on that, obviously, before we did it on production. I think we'll need to obviously do some triple checking and cleanup there, but so much better, so much better. Any questions about Go Live stuff? Please
thank Bob for learning and being able to do that. I think that's
yeah. And then the other note is just that I have an application from Warren Newport. As we discussed at our previous meeting, they're not anticipating a project until 2022, but they did ask for a quote, so I'm working on that.
okay.
You know, we'd only need 2 more, besides Warren Newport, we only need 2 more to have the original CCS back from when I first started at Barrington. And that's Barrington and Schaumburg, so there's your
All right,
goal.
so we need to start working on Jesse and Annie. Got it.
Right, yeah.
Diane wants the gang back together.
Yeah, right.
Noted.
Although none of the people, well, one of the people are there, but.
Does Anthony hear you okay?
I don't know what happened there. Okay. If anybody has anything else about new members, now is your chance to say it, or else we're moving to COVID-19 needs and planning. Okay. So recently, the Battelle study came out recommending again 7 days of quarantine because they're finding that the virus can stay on hardcover buckram cover for 6 or more days. So are we all at 7 days already? Do we need to make any changes?
Everyone should be at 7 days that's participating in intra-CCS loan. Glencoe, as I noted, isn't able to do that, so they had to drop out of intra-CCS loan. But as far as I know, everyone else is on board.
Okay.
Not liking it, but doing it.
How many people are still not? Are we the only ones left other than Glencoe, Rebecca?
Evanston.
Crystal Lake.
Crystal Lake and Lake Forest.
Yeah.
Okay, so the same group.
Thank you, Pam. My mind just like stopped working.
Well, I was just talking to,
Oh, we lost you. You're frozen with flippy hair. Okay. Pam can finish her thought when she comes back.
Okay.
Is there anything else that we need to do or say about COVID-19 needs?
I just was curious, I know Crystal Lake's opening next week. Are there any other libraries that haven't reopened their buildings to the public that anybody knows of in CCS?
No, not that I know of. Evanston was the other holdout, and they did open back up in August.
Okay.
Do you know what the status is of Huntley? I mean, I should know. They're our next door neighbors, but I don't.
Well, so they were open, but then they closed for construction, and then I think they'll reopen after, you know, their construction phase is through.
Okay, that's what I thought. They were closed for construction. I had somebody who came to our library yesterday, and they said, we have Huntley cards, but they're closed right now. And
yeah, so they had been open, and then, you know, due to construction, they pulled back.
Yeah, we've been serving Crystal Lake patrons. Actually, yesterday we opened our full hours. I didn't get a chance to see how we did last night. I'm sure it was slow.
So how many hours were you at and how many are your full hours?
Oh, let's see. Our full hours are 69, I think.
Okay.
We're typically open 9 to 9, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, 1 to 5, or 1 to 5 on Sunday. And we were open 9 to 6, 9 to 2, and then we weren't open on Sundays. So we just opened everything back up. We needed to get, the teachers went back to school that work for us. And so we didn't have any evening hours, which is typically what they work. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't cheating them.
Mm-hmm.
So
we had that too. Our typical hours are 71. We're open 44 hours right now. We're open to the public 44 hours right now, Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7, but our staff can be there 9 to 9. So that's how our people who need evening hours are getting them, because they can be there after the patrons are gone. But then
that's what we've been doing too at Northbrook. We're open 40 hours. We used to be 69, but staff can be in the building the same hours they were previously.
We're the same except for on Sundays.
yeah.
Okay.
The problem is a lot of our evening people are desk. So if there's no patron,
yeah, for sure. For sure.
Anyway.
We're open normal hours, and we have been since we started. The idea is to spread people out as much as possible. So we didn't get one.
Yeah.
That was our thought, and we could pull back if we had to, but we haven't had any issues. And like Diane, you said, like the evenings are a little bit slow. They're a little bit slow, but it allows us to do more remote work if we need to.
Yeah. Weekends are surprisingly busy though. So
You know, I think it's amazing. Our August numbers from last year were only down 20%, and August is when this building opened, so it was crazy. In August from the year before, we were only down 10% in CIRC from 2018 CIRC. So like our CIRC numbers have gone down a little bit, but almost, you know, nothing compared to what I thought it was going to be. And we could never do apples to apples before that because old building, I don't know that that data is useful to us.
Well, but I mean, now we're in a pandemic, so it's all different fruits. You're comparing all the different fruits. So
And they're out there.
Kiwi to a
was
star
Pam-
fruit.
Was Pam saying something?
I was just going to say, we're open our normal hours too, which is 69 hours a week, using the same reasoning that Mick was, that, you know, that allowed us to spread out both our staff, and we figured instead of trying to have all our patrons come in at the same time, you know, these same limited hours, we could spread that out a little bit more as well as giving our staff their hours that they expect.
we had at one point last week, somebody came back into administration and said, the library is really busy right now. And I went out to see, because we have a live door counter, and we had 16 patrons in the building.
You were super busy.
Last Saturday when I worked, we had 20.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how our perspectives had changed. You know, previously 16 people in the building would be like, you know, a pretty slow time. But now we're like 16 people. So
at Park Ridge, we are at 44. Starting on Saturday, we're going up to 59 hours a week. We're typically at 70. And we're keeping the first, like we're usually 9 to 9, we're going to be 10 to 8. And we're keeping those hours for staff. So that's sort of the grand compromise. That's what we'll call it. But Sundays, we think we really need them. That Saturday's going to get busier now that school's back in session.
Yeah, we've been doing Saturday and Sunday hours from the get-go. So, but our numbers are still really down, which is fine by me.
we haven't had any complaints, so we don't anticipate changing. Not for right now, anyway. We'll see how the fall shapes up. Okay, if we don't have anything else for COVID-19 needs and planning, then let's go to Rails updates. Well, did we want to talk about Rebecca updating notice text and translations? I know that was in the packet. I don't know if anybody has anything to mention about that.
I mean, we've been doing a lot of customizations for folks so they could have their instructions on like curbside or whatever. So the CIRC advisory group is meeting later this week or next week to go over what the standard text is and make sure that our translations are all up to date. We'll be sending it out to a service. And then, as I noted in the packet, a major factor in wanting to have standardized notice was that we were providing an equitable experience for folks whose language is not English if they had selected something else for their notices. So we want to continue to offer customized notices since everybody's procedures, I think, are more solidified now, but still kind of changing. But that we'll be kind of actively reminding libraries like, okay, but like you have patrons who've requested notices in these languages. Let's make sure your text is up to date. And so anything outside of like the standard CCS text, the libraries will be responsible for. And they can provide it. They don't have to like pay us to send it to a translator. They can, you know, have someone on staff do it or whatever.
Okay. Thank you for that. Rails updates. Do we have any?
In your packet, I noted that L2 is scheduled to be launched today. I haven't heard anything otherwise, so I'm assuming that means that it's happening. I mean, it's been live, but they'll be starting to publicize it. So CCS, you know, later in the month, we'll be sending out some more information to members to make sure your accounts are up to date and your staff accounts are up to date as we start transitioning to using that platform for registration.
I was just on there yesterday. I wanted to check it out. It looks nice.
It does.
I have lots of staff changes that I need to make because people's titles are just library staff or something.
Yeah.
But it looks good. It's definitely a different navigation But, just like with everything, you get used to it.
Anthony submitted a comment to the chat, as did Pam. Anthony says, my internet connection is unstable today. Sorry, I keep getting bumped out of the meeting. Pam says, me too. I keep getting kicked out.
Okay.
Me 3.
Me 4. I wonder if the
Yeah.
videos are making it difficult.
And I just tested my internet speed is at 41 megabytes per second. So like it should be okay, but
It must be the Zoom.
I don't
I
know.
think it's the rain.
Over here, CCS.
I'm gonna blame the rain.
Yeah, I'm seeing everybody freezing a lot. Like Kate was drinking water for about 15 minutes there, it felt like. And,
Just gotta stay hydrated. Gotta stay
I'm hoping
hydrated.
you're okay and not drowned, but
Nope,
yeah.
I'm good.
I'll go ahead and turn off my video unless anyone needs to see my face. No, just it might help with folks who are having some connection issues. I'll just
That's a good point.
anyway.
Okay. If we don't have anything else about Rails, then
Can I just ask, because I was on vacation last week and I did just this morning read through the Realm study results and I have to read through them again more carefully. I just skimmed them. But is it the same as the other 3 studies where they stopped testing at day 6 so we don't actually know if it's longer?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's
correct.
fine.
Okay. All right.
yeah, which I don't know why they're doing that. I feel like on the previous study after day 6, it was below the LOQ. And so then it made a little bit more sense. But this time, I think one of them was just above LOQ, which
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't study it further then.
I mean, I know it has to do with like the time they have in the lab and stuff, but like, why not just do it for 10 days just so we can know?
Right. And I did reach out to Monica. I had a couple questions and I sent them to Monica and she sent me contact information. I mean, it's generic contact information. It's not a specific person. For Realm, if we have questions, we can email them directly and ask, or whoever is in charge of the study or Battelle. So if you want that information, I can share it with you.
That's something that we should do, just as a consortium, email them and ask, because I know that there's a couple other people that have popped up on either the North Suburban list or the director list that asked that same question about, why are they stopping at the days they're stopping? Would that be appropriate to come from come from CCS as a group?
Sorry, I'm nodding and you can't see me. I think that seems reasonable. I'm happy to send an email. I can shoot something out to LibAdmin after this meeting to see if anyone has other questions they'd like to add. But I think starting with how do you pick 6 days seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm. I had a question too about like on the chart on the latest study, it showed it said like quantity of virus and it said like 4.85. But it didn't have any sort of like, what would it be? Any sort of multiplier? Is that like 4.85 million or any, like I couldn't find that in the study. So I'm sure it's not 4.85 virus particles because that would not be helpful.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anything in the study that said how much that was because, you see information about, how many particles it might take to make somebody sick and all that. So I want to know what we're starting with and, what we're getting down to. And I couldn't really pull that information because I didn't feel like they gave that inaccurate number.
Okay.
I'll try and put that together in some real words and send it to you.
Yeah, I understand what you're asking. So I can write it up, but if you want to send me actual wording, that's fine too.
Okay. Okay. Then moving on from Rails updates, we have innovative updates. Are there any questions?
I just want to call out that I've requested information about the early adopter program. I haven't committed CCS to anything. That would be something that comes up through the chain. But if they'll have us, because they have a certain number of slots for like consortia or whatever. I think that would be a positive use of our staff time. By the time that some of these products come to market, they're really sort of built in a way that we can only tweak them rather than shape them, even with like accelerated development requests. So as they're looking at this new discovery tool, I think it'd be really valuable to be able to provide information on consortial needs, specifically for our kind of consortium where we're all independent agencies. It just seems across vendors, when people talk about consortia, they're talking about like county systems that are all really centralized. So being able to get in as early as possible and give that feedback, I think would be really helpful. That said, I don't have any details about it yet. We talked about it way back in March, me and our account manager. And then I sent a reminder last week. So I'll keep you posted, but I will say that the Vega Discovery preview was much better looking than Inspire and seemed to be more focused on the public library experience. It still has some Inspire qualities that I'm just not sure how helpful they are, but during the webinar that I was in, the product manager repeatedly said that they have done testing with real live library patrons and users, which is new because when we, and by we I mean all customers, not just CCS. At previous conferences, when they were demoing Inspire, we really pushed them on that and they didn't have a good answer. They were like, well, our partners do the testing, meaning library staff. So I am really pleased that they said that they were actually doing user testing with live users. And I think that will go a long way to getting rid of some of the weird library stuff and making it a patron-friendly tool.
I just want to say I appreciate your forward looking on this, because in the past, we've always waited till the product was tested for quite a while before we jumped to anything. And I appreciate getting in on the ground level and being able to have some input. So thank you.
Sure. We'll see if we can do that, but that's something I'd like to do.
Sounds good. I like that idea too. Okay. If there are not any other innovative updates, then let's talk about Election Day as a 2020-2021 paid holiday, which was on the agenda last time and it was voted to be tabled. There is not any additional information for clarification yet. So we need to decide if we want to make a motion to approve Election Day as a paid holiday, or if we want to make a motion to table it once again. Or I suppose somebody could make a motion to deny it as a paid holiday. And I will just tell you right now, it seems very strange that I am the only face I'm looking at.
Yeah, I was doing some more research. I'm sure you all know about the Illinois Municipal League's suit to try to get clarification. I know that wouldn't apply to CCS specifically, but I think it would offer some more guidance about like what the intention is and how widespread it was intended to be. I know that it doesn't apply to private businesses. From my perspective, it's not so much about like complying with the law as like, why not? That seems like a great idea to make it easier for people to vote and like, let's go for it. But I understand that you have some concerns about the libraries being open and what does that say when CCS is closed. So I understand your concerns. All I would say is that we'd still have staff on call like we do on evenings and weekends when CCS doesn't have business hours. I would prefer that, if possible, we do take action today, just so we know, because the next meeting is governing board, and then it's election day, which is just crazy. So if it's not going to happen, that's fine. But I would like, if possible, to get an answer.
Are we talking about just November, or are we talking about every election day moving forward?
The
Just-
new law is just for this election.
I wasn't sure if we were necessarily basing it on this new law or not. We mentioned it, but like CCS is not part of that new law as far as we know. So for Rebecca, in your opinion, is this just for November, or is this for the November and April board meeting elections, or just
I
for
would
the?
say just for November. I think that if things were expanded within Illinois, I would say we would expand as well. But at this time, while the law does not apply to us, I feel like moving with it in that spirit is where I'm at.
I would propose, if we don't already have a policy that allows staff paid time to vote, that we actually could consider that rather than making it a paid holiday for the full day. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
Sorry, Heidi here.
Sorry. Our policy aligns with, I believe it's, I don't know if it's federal law or Illinois law, that if your working hours overlap with the polling place hours, then you can get up to 2 hours paid to vote. But because of our hours and our staffing, that's is not applicable to our staff because of the polling place hours in Illinois being lengthy, which is great. So staff have to go early before work or then wait in line with everyone else after work.
Sure, but if we move forward with an internal policy that expanded upon that, you know, sort of in the spirit with the law, but taking it a step further, I think I would be more likely to support that than the day as a paid holiday.
Okay.
I agree with that. And even though our hours are like yours, where people can still get out to vote, we still would allow someone the 2 hours if they deemed it necessary. Because there are parents that need to pick up kids and things like that. So I would be on board for the 2 hours versus the whole day as a holiday.
We have a similar policy as Heidi and everybody else, and I see Anthony wrote in the chat as well. But I don't think they can make if we're suggesting they make a policy change, they can't. They don't have time, and so beyond the 2 hours thing. So I would like to make a motion that they do get this one particular election off, and this is not for any political reasons. You don't have to include that in a minute, and it's just like I think it's really important to vote, and then we can come back in December and January and rewrite this policy as we see fit. But like we just don't have time to do it with the time scale that Rebecca put. So I will make that motion that this will be a paid holiday for CCS staff, providing that they give all the coverage necessary to all library staff, libraries in CCS.
Can I get a second, please? We have a motion on the table. Somebody needs to second.
Or the motion dies.
I'll second it. Thanks, Anthony.
So what happens if a motion is made and the motion dies? Like,
Do I have
then
to leave the board?
No,
That's
then
fine, Mick.
it's dead and someone can make a different motion or nothing happens with it.
okay, so is somebody willing to second the motion to allow for November 3rd of 2020 to be a paid holiday for CCS staff? Do we have a second, or are we killing the motion? Okay, there's no second. So would somebody else like to make a motion?
I would make a motion to, I don't know if you can do this, to have a partial holiday, a partial day holiday. If we can't do a policy, but we could give them a holiday, could we make it a 1/4 day holiday? Wow, that sounds really lame, but that's all I got.
Is a quarter day a a time measurement that works, or is a 2-hour time measurement something that works? I don't know how you all do your timekeeping at CCS, but we don't do quarter day.
We do half days. Like, if you were taking a vacation or a personal day or a sick day, we would do it as a half day, even if you're only taking a few hours.
If it's a one-time thing and not a policy change, I would make a motion to allow CCS to, for this one day, give their staff 2 hours of paid time off that day to go vote.
I think we can make that work in our system. It's not what we typically do, but I think the system can handle it, so that's fine.
I mean,
I'll
since
second
it's
that.
paid, sorry, I was going to,
Yeah, it should be.
if Mick wants to second it, but then I think too, if it's paid, I mean, that seems like that would be something that you would just kind of track internally, that it wouldn't even need to be necessarily in your system if you wanted to treat it that way. But
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to allow 2 hours of paid time off on November 3rd for CCS staff to go vote. We had, the motion was made by Heidi. Mick, did you second that motion?
Yes.
And Rebecca, just to clarify, that is something that you can manage in the payroll system for CCS.
Yes, this sounds great. We can make this work. That sounds
Okay.
like a great compromise, and I'm on board.
Can we get a roll call vote for this motion, please?
Yes.
We have a little more discussion
Sure.
because my understanding of this new law was that it wasn't really to like allow people to go vote. And I recognize that the motion on the table isn't for the new law and right, blah, blah, blah. But to me, the new law, which was the spirit behind what this is, was to make it so that there wouldn't be as many people in government facilities to make it safer for people to vote, not to give people an easier way to vote. They're promoting obviously mail-in voting and early voting. So the goal was that the day of there would be fewer people out and about. So this seems to be counter to that purpose. If what we're trying to do is follow the spirit behind the law, which was my understanding was to make it safer. It seems like by giving people paid time off to specifically vote on that day, are we going to allow people 2 hours for if they want to do early voting? Or is it only for that day? It seems like we haven't quite come up with a solution that makes the most sense in our COVID-19 environment.
Yeah, from my perspective, I feel like giving staff time would allow them, if they choose to vote on election day, would allow them to go not like in like kind of the hotspot hours of before 9 a.m. or after 5 p.m. So they could go like on lunch or at 10 a.m. with and spread their voting out. CCS is a pretty small staff, and I don't think we're going to have a huge impact on any particular polling place. But for me, I would just like to make it as easy as possible for my staff and give them as much choice. Either way, I'll be taking a vacation day. I'm signing up as an election judge, so this doesn't affect me. So I'm happy to encourage staff to vote in a variety of ways, but to me, this just seems like in line with policies that exist in libraries. Do I think it should be a national holiday for everyone, everywhere? Yes, I do. Is that what we're voting on? No. But I think it's the spirit of like, this is important, and this is us saying that it's important for you to vote.
So with that said, would it be better to make it that we allow 2 hours at their choosing if they wanted to go to early voting?
Sure.
Well, we have a motion on the table to allow for 2 hours of paid time off on November 3rd to go vote. I believe.
So if Heidi's willing, like, could we amend the motion to say that we would provide up to 2 hours for people to vote either during early voting or on election day this year.
You're a genius. I love that. You're here.
And I think the up to 2 hours is important because like they
Mhm.
might not need the full 2 hours. You know, like
And
it
that
would take
gives
me
us-
probably like 25 minutes.
Well, and that gives us, this is sort of establishing a precedent that we could then discuss to make it a long-term policy, to Mick's point. I think it's great, up to 2 hours. So what do we need to do, parliamentarian person, to update that?
Alex isn't here. We don't have a parliamentarian anymore.
Go rogue.
No.
Well, I think
So-
we have a motion and a second to allow 2 hours of paid time off on November 3rd to go vote. We have an amendment to the motion. So does the amendment go to Heidi or does it go to Kate?
It goes to Heidi because she made the motion, and then Mick has to approve if Heidi approves the amendment.
Okay. So
I approve the amendment.
by Heidi. Mick, do you keep your second with the amendment?
That's fine with me. Yes, seconded.
Okay, and the amendment is to allow CCS staff up to 2 hours to go vote on election day or early voting at their discretion. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't put at their discretion because they
Well,
should still be checking in with,
Well, but I mean,
Right.
like, they can choose whether they go vote early or on election day. Like,
or not use it at all.
right. That's what I meant by discretion. But okay, go ahead, Beth.
Can we read that again, please? Approve, this is what I have. Approve to allow CCS staff up to 2 hours to vote either at early voting or on election day.
Yes. All right. Are we done with discussion? Are we ready to take a vote?
Should we put in for this November election? Because originally,
Oh,
I want this to be a permanent thing so.
It
this
should be
November-
permanent in a policy, not in a motion from us.
For the 2020 election, because early voting starts in October.
I feel like Heidi said that the first time, so I don't think we need to do another amendment in a second.
yeah, the original motion did have the date.
Okay.
Okay,
Are we ready for roll call?
I am.
I'm going to start with Heidi Smith,
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
There we go. Paul,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Leffler,
Yes.
McNulty,
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Go vote, CCS staff.
We're doing it. We're voting.
And then we're also directing Rebecca to take this to move forward with working with the policy and bylaws committee to create a formal policy moving forward.
Yes, but I think it could just be an executive committee because it's personnel and it's in the employee handbook.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
So I'll work on that for a future meeting.
So we just created more work for Rebecca and for ourselves. Yay, us. Rebecca, do you want us to send you our policies?
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay. All right. Are we adjourning to closed session? Were we prepared?
We are not, because you, Heidi, and I
Yes.
still have to meet, which we'll be doing, and then probably the November. I
Mhm.
forget. I don't have my timeline pulled up. I should have pulled that up. I put together a timeline, which, Rebecca, I realize I probably should send to you and shouldn't have just sent to Heidi and Sarah.
It's fine.
So-
I'm here whenever.
Okay, so then we are going to not adjourn to closed session today.
Correct.
Right, nor will we reconvene to open session. So let's go to report. I guess I'm first. I don't have anything to report except for I put a note on the board here at CCS, which nobody comes in and reads except for Beth. That congratulating on another successful go live with 2 new members, welcoming Palatine and Grays Lake, and that we are now 28 strong. So
Maybe we could take a picture of that and put it in the newsletter.
you could do that. I mean, they put me in this room with big dry erase boards and colored markers. It's hard to not do something. All right, Secretary Diane, do you have anything?
Nope, no report.
Treasurer Mick.
No report.
And committees and groups. Pam, do you have a report for long range planning?
I don't really have anything to add to the minutes. I think, Beth, thank you for pulling those together. I think that they did a good description of what happened at the meeting. We do have a few meetings scheduled so that we can, look at the results of the needs assessment survey that I know Rebecca and her staff are working on. But like I said, I think the minutes do a good job of outlining what we talked about. But if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. And Rebecca.
I would just like to thank my staff for their hard work on getting Palatine and Grays Lake up and running during certainly less than ideal situation and being flexible. I know the Palatine and Grays Lake staff also did a ton of work getting ready and preparing and had to do a lot of like self-directed learning. So congratulations to them also. I'm looking forward to checking in after this meeting and seeing how things are going for them. And then the last thing I have on page 16 of your packet, I have just a very brief couple of things for the governing board agenda. I had hoped to have a draft of the audit for today, but things are a little bit not done. So Beth and I are meeting with the auditor after this meeting. He'll be on site. But we'll get drafts to the president and the treasurer as soon as possible. I'm hoping that we'll still be able to have the audit for the October meeting as well as the annual report, which in previous years, it'll be similar to previous years, a brief narrative about our goals related to strategic planning, some statistics on, circulation, et cetera, ILS statistics. So if there's any feedback you have about previous reports or things you'd like to see in this year's, feel free to let me know. We will have some preliminary discussion about strategic planning based on what our preliminary results from the needs assessment. And then as always, I have COVID-19 stuff on the agenda, whatever comes up between now and then. But does executive committee have anything else that should be on the agenda for governing board?
I don't have anything now to add.
That's fine. I just wanted to put it out there as what we were planning for our next meeting, especially having fewer meetings this year. I want to make sure that you all have the opportunity to get things on the agenda that might need to be there.
This might not be a good idea, but I'm going to say it anyway. Do we want to invite someone from Rails to talk about L2 and kind of go over it? It's kind of like a training piece.
I'm being quiet because this was.
I imagine
the rest of you if that would be helpful for you.
I'm hoping that Rails, and I'm pretty sure that are going to schedule a bunch of trainings for staff already. So I think people can opt in and out, and having it at a governing board, to me, is not necessary.
I agree with Mick. I think that is more of a Rails thing than maybe CCS.
I tend to agree. Also, I did see that CCS meetings will be listed on L2. So perhaps we can rely on Rails for training and giving information about, how to update the people from your library and all that kind of stuff. But then maybe it's worth a note at the governing board meeting that CCS meetings are now listed in L2 and just kind of a reminder to go in and make sure that your staff are updated and their contact information is correct so that they get the notifications that they need. So maybe less of a training and more of a reminder.
Yeah, and I can pop some screenshots in the packet of like how to limit to CCS or something along those lines.
I think that would be helpful.
The only other thing I would add, and we'll probably have some of this anyway, but maybe officially put it on the agenda to have the 2 new library directors kind of give a follow-up on how things went and how things are going with being on CCS now.
Mm-hmm. And we'll also be welcoming Monica Dombrowski to
Right.
Winnetka.
Yeah, as the new director of Winnetka.
Yeah.
And it'll be Lindsay's first meeting from Glenview.
Oh, you're right. It feels like she's been here so long now that, yeah. And then I don't know where Highland Park is in the process.
Still advertising.
Are they? Okay.
So is Ela.
Yeah, well, I knew Ela, they just started, so I feel like that's still a ways out. Poor Erica.
Right. So, okay, so Monica is new at Winnetka. Lindsay is new at where?
Glenview.
Glenview. And then who is doing searches? Ela?
And Highland Park?
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't keep
Still in the phase of putting together a job description, I believe.
So maybe by the governing board, they might have a posting. Are you thinking, Mick?
I'm trying to keep as far away as possible, so
Fair.
I'm not.
That's fair. But Matt would know.
Right. Okay, so lots of changes.
Even in COVID.
I think we're used to that. Okay. Does anybody else have anything else, or are we ready to adjourn?
I have a question for Rebecca.
What?
I have a question for Rebecca. Our last discussion, we talked about Palatine wanting in person. I wanted to know how the result of that conversation with you and Jeannie.
After our last meeting, I sent Jeannie an email kind of outlining the concerns we had and our reasoning for not coming out in person. I didn't get a response, but they're live and we're not there. I mean, she's continued to work closely with Deborah on preparing. We had specific meetings scheduled for circulation managers, tech services managers, and IT to kind of go through on Zoom and walk them through some of the like trickier tasks that we would have done if we had been in person. So, I mean, I'm interested to hear more today. We talked, as of yesterday, both Grays Lake and Palatine took us up on our offer to like start prepping with some like tech stuff. So hopefully that made their transition this morning easier. So I know my staff were working with them yesterday afternoon. But nothing specific.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, then I am going to adjourn this meeting at 10:49.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.